now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. Derek Chauvin, the race soldier who murdered George Floyd, was convicted of murdering him this afternoon in a Minneapolis criminal court. And most black people, like Benjamin Crump, the attorney, are getting emotional and celebrating what they think is a victory, but I believe black people need to be very cautious about celebrating too soon. Because the game, when it comes down to white supremacy, is chess, not checkers, and oftentimes when you're dealing with white supremacy, you can't celebrate a win too soon because oftentimes there's a checkmate right around the corner from a wrong move that is made. And when it comes down to your white supremacy, they oftentimes love to sacrifice a couple of pawns, like Derek Chauvin, in order to win a game. So they will sacrifice a Derek Chauvin in order to protect their system of police brutality, and later on go out here and after they sacrifice your Derek Chauvin, not give you anything as related to tangibles for police reform. And that's why black people have to be focused on the larger picture as related to this conviction and related to focusing on an agenda of stopping white supremacy and pushing towards a system of justice. Because if you're sitting there thinking, oh, they got this one race soldier and that's a victory, no, that's them possibly sacrificing a pawn so they can get back to business as usual. Because again, in the game of chess, people will sacrifice a pawn in order to gain ground against their opponent. And that's what could be happening here with this conviction. And there's also a possibility that the white supremacists are playing chess and they've got somebody on the inside, on the left, to possibly help them be able to take this victory away from black people. And that was shown with your Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who made that emotional statement in an effort to antagonize black people into participating in violent behavior if we didn't get the verdict that we should have gotten. Now, your Maxine Waters opened her mouth and possibly could have led to a mistrial or possibly could lead to an appeal, and the judge stated this as much, and that's why I say you can't get too emotional right now, because this is a game of chess, not checkers, and your Maxine Waters could be a player on the board who is working against black people and could possibly lead to your Derek Chauvin getting off later on an appeal because of the statements she made. So I look at the bigger picture as related to this whole Derek Chauvin conviction, and I can't again get too emotional because I clearly see how this is going to play on the board as related to chess, and I can look at this whole chess game and see how there are things possibly being set up to checkmate the black community, with your Maxine Waters on appeal and possibly with the sentencing of Derek Chauvin as related to these charges, because they're not going to sentence Derek Chauvin until 8 weeks later, and that gives white supremacy enough time to dissipate all of the tension and all of the anger that's been simmering and boiling out here, and possibly set up a swerve as related to George Floyd's murder, and just like they did in the case of Akai Gurley. Now, in the case of Akai Gurley here in New York, we had Peter Li Yang, another race soldier rogue officer who decided to defy his superior's orders, walked into that housing project with a loaded firearm, and then wound up firing a shot in that staircase where he shot and killed Akai Gurley. And yes, the black community did protest to get him charged, but what happened was after he got convicted, the Asian community got together and they got him a suspended sentence, and Peter Li Yang never did a day of prison time for the death of Akai Gurley. That's why we have to be very vigilant and very cautious when it comes down to this George Floyd conviction, because when you're dealing with white supremacy, there's always a swerve, and this time they're just probably waiting for the right time to pull the swerve, because the white supremacists in America know that they look bad right now. The murder of George Floyd was seen internationally and seen as a complete violation of not only George Floyd's civil rights, but the violation of human rights here in America. And this whole George Floyd murder makes America look bad in the face of our enemies like the Russians and the Chinese, who see us as hypocrites if we give your Derek Chauvin a complete pass, because this makes the country look bad in the face of Russia, China, Cuba, North Korea, and even other countries in the Middle East which have strict laws. And when they look at America's complete mistreatment of a black man during the COVID-19 pandemic and dehumanizing him, this really makes America have a complete black eye as a country. So this is another reason why they had to sacrifice your Derek Chauvin, and they had to let him get punished for this crime. But black people, again, have to understand the game of chess, and that's why we have to stay vigilant, because we have to make sure that white supremacy does not pull a swerve on us, whether it be with the sentencing or whether with a technicality by using another player on the board like Maxine Waters, who ran her big mouth and could have jeopardized this case. We have to make sure that this, not only does this race soldier get punished, but we further continue to persevere and push towards pushing a black agenda for police reform and holding these race soldiers accountable and these rogue police officers accountable when they go out here and perpetrate crimes of police brutality and racial profiling on black Americans and violate not only our civil rights, but violate our human rights as well. So we need to continue pushing, because there is more to this than just one race soldier. This is a long haul chess game, and in that long haul chess game, we not only have to deal with Derek Chauvin, but we also have to deal with the other 3 rogue police officer race soldiers and assure that they get punishment as well, because one of the things white supremacy loves to do is they will sacrifice one white supremacist and then let the other 3 or 4 go, and then it's back to business as usual, because black people's feelings are sated because these white supremacists gave you Barabbas, and you're not thinking about crucifying more white supremacists and holding them accountable. And because you're not thinking about the big picture as related to these white supremacists, you're not really thinking about trying to further push for the tangibles of justice and looking to push further as related to the tangibles as related to further protecting your own civil rights. And black people have to get out of their feelings about things like your Benjamin Crump was in, and you have to start thinking critically about the bigger picture as related to fighting for the tangibles of civil rights and getting justice for yourself. And you also have to think about the bigger picture as related to dealing with these race soldiers, because black men are still getting killed out here. I mean, just last week we had the young black man who was shot by the white female police officer, and that because she said she mistook her taser. And we have to continue pushing towards an agenda to get these rogue police officers and these race soldiers punished for the crimes that they commit. And it can't just be one being sacrificed. It has to be about not only punishing those, but ensuring that there's policy to ensure that these people understand there's a clear line in the sand, and you will not dehumanize, degrade, disrespect, or do harm to black people in this country. Now, this video will not be monetized, so if you could donate to the Cash App and the Patreon or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box, it would be greatly appreciated. Or if you could head over to Amazon.com and pick up some of my positive black fiction, like the ISIS series, the East-Eam series, the John Haynes series, or the books of the Spencerella trilogy, or some of my nonfiction books like The Man Crisis, it would be greatly appreciated and help me continue to make more videos. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.